My feeling is that my Black patients might feel just uncomfortable talking with me about racial stress and trauma. That may or may not be true universally, and that may also switch if with Black therapists treating white patients. How do we create, send a message that it's safe to talk about your racial stress and trauma with me as your therapist? And how do white therapists in particular not unconsciously close those doors and maybe unconsciously send the message, I can't really talk to you about that because that's not really my wheelhouse. I think Monica Williams yesterday in our first panel said, if you have a patient of color in your office, you can just assume they're undergoing some kind of racial stress or trauma. So how do particularly white therapists create that opening for clients to just send the message, this is something we can talk about here, and I want to know your experience?
I think for me, it goes back to that, like starting with yourself, being the example. Brene Brown said something recently in a meeting that really resonated with me. She said, now is not the time for white people to be comfortable or quiet. And I was like, amen, sister, So if you're wondering, is this person, are they struggling with this? Maybe asking yourself why I'm not comfortable saying that. Mm-hmm. What is it, in me that stops me from saying and asking for some clarity around how I'm feeling? I'm feeling some energy in the room that it might be uncomfortable for you to really deeply talk to me about certain things. What do you think? Sharing that experience. It's not on them. It's not on you. Let's do this together. Yeah. It's kind of my perspective anyway.
Yeah. Thank you.
And it goes back to even how you started this conversation with highlighting what's going on in the world and mentioning that, hey, we're not immune. I mean, we've been seeing this movement happening globally. No one should not know that there is a movement of finishing Reconstruction in America, finishing the end of slavery. We are in a Reconstruction period. And so there needs to be an awareness of that. And there needs to be some truth and clarity in talking about that, right? And that means doing your research. That means, not assuming. I think when we were waiting to get started, I told you that there was a group of therapists that asked me to be a part of their podcast. And they were, I do believe that they are well-meaning therapists that really just wanted to hear from Black people in the same way. But it was more or less like a fetishizing of our pain. Just his language of, let me read briefly what he said. We've been reading and watching news related to George Floyd's murder and the killing of other Black citizens led us to think we'd like to have a panel of Black African women talk about what it's like to constantly fear for the lives of their sons, males, partners of color, and themselves from police violence. So there's nothing about healing. They're wanting me to come and share my trauma and further re-traumatize me, right? Not looking at me as a subject matter expert, as a professional, and then asking me to give of my time freely, not respecting the credentials that I have, and then fetishizing the pain by then assuming what it might be like for me, that it's a constant fear. And so those things are things that white people might want to be mindful of. Is there an undertone of fetishizing the pain of what it is to be Black in this country?
That's a really good point, Amber. Thank you. That's a great example. Thank you.
When I think about the next counseling session somebody has, maybe even after watching this a day from now, a week from now, I picture the therapist who says, I want my clients to feel safe. talking about whatever they want to talk about. But how do I literally, when I walk in, instead of just saying, so how's it been since the last time we met? How do I broach that without saying too much, making it seem like I completely understand, telling them how they feel. So I imagine you're feeling pretty bad. And it's like not going too far. I picture the efforts, everybody try to find their own voice. It's not like it's a script to try to find their own lead in, but just something that acknowledges, hey, like Amber was talking about, we've been hearing a lot of things on the news. I'm not sure how that's affecting you, if at all. Is that something you'd like to talk about? Just some type of lobbing it out there. It's not saying too much. It's not be my educator, be my professor. It's not saying just completely be vulnerable, but it's an open-ended question. If they say, you know what, I got a lot more things going on than that right now. I need you to help me with this. At least they know they can come back to it. If they were really cautious, that's the main thing they want to talk about. But they feel, well, when I go back, we have to pick up exactly where we were left off before my whole community went up in smoke. Then you giving them an invitation with some type of soft acknowledgement. And if they take it, it becomes big. If they don't feel like it's your agenda being pushed on them. But just to be able to lob that out there could mean a professional get pleasantly surprised by, you know what, I planned on doing that and I did, but I didn't think so many clients would take me up on that. Especially so many clients from different backgrounds. Wow, just something as soft like that could be informative for everybody involved and be therapeutically beneficial.